I can save her.
What?
For certain reasons, I work as a part-time school counselor. The number of students seeking my advice grew, and despite my inexperience, I was leading a fulfilling life. However, one day, the condition of a high school girl who had come for counseling took a sudden turn for the worse. I rushed her to the hospital, but there was very little time left. At this rate, in 15 minutes, faced with the despairing doctors, I said one thing: I can save her. I will absolutely save her. My name is Jacob. I'm in my 30s, currently working as a part-time school counselor at a high school. I haven't been working here for long. It was about a year ago. After a certain incident pushed my mental health to the brink, I quit my job before things became irreversible. For a few months after quitting, I managed to live off my savings from my previous job, but with zero income. It was only a matter of time before my savings ran out. Because I quit impulsively without a plan, I now have no idea what to do next. I was cornered, with no clue what I should do or where I should go from here. I guess I have no choice but to apply for a part-time job. Just as I was starting to think that, "Oh, Jacob, it's rare to see you at this time of day." "Oh, Olivia, that's true." The person who spoke to me was Olivia. She's been living in my neighborhood for a long time and used to play with me when I was a child. Since we're neighbors, we've stayed in touch even now that I'm an adult. To give you an idea of how close we are, my fridge is always stocked with side dishes she brings over when she's made too much. The Shisa statue by my entrance was a souvenir she left for me from her trip to Okinawa 2 weeks ago. Are you okay? You look pretty down. Oh, well, actually, I quit my job due to some issues. I was just thinking about looking for a new one. What? You quit your job? When was that? About 3 months ago. Why didn't you tell me sooner? We've seen each other a few times since then. Well, I didn't think it was something to bother people with. Come on, if you had issues, you must have been mentally unstable, right? In times like that, it's okay to lean on others. So, you're looking for a job now, you said? Ah, yes, but I think getting a full-time position right away will be tough, so I was thinking of starting with a part-time job. I might be able to help with that. Here, look at this. Saying that, Olivia took out her phone and showed me a web page. It was a job posting for a school counselor at a high school very close to my house. What's this? They just had an opening. Since you're looking for a job, why don't you give it a try? A school counselor, you say? Well, it's certainly a timely offer. Right? Jacob, you're a good listener, so I think you'd be quite suited for it. You think so? Well, I don't have any other prospects, so if you think I'm a good fit, I'd be happy to. Really? That's great. Thank you, Jacob. You know, something has been bothering me for a little while. Hmm? What is it? Well, it's just that you seem to know a lot about the inner workings of this school. Oh, of course, I'm on the school board. Did I not mention that? Not that I recall. But, well, that explains a lot. Well, let's just call it fate. I'll be looking forward to working with you. With that, Olivia left in high spirits. There wasn't even an interview. I wonder if this is really okay. Still, things were decided so quickly that I didn't get to hear the details. Being unemployed, I wasn't in a position to be picky. Well, regardless of how it happened, I have a new job. I should just be happy about it. A few days later, when I returned from shopping and checked my mailbox, there was an envelope inside. The envelope was boldly marked "Important," and seeing it made my heart leap. I returned to my room, and after a moment's hesitation, I opened the envelope. My bad feeling was completely wrong, and I breathed a sigh of relief. The envelope was from my new workplace, and it contained my work schedule, prohibited actions, and other important notices. If I'd thought calmly, the address was right there on the envelope. I shouldn't jump to conclusions. After reflecting on my rashness, I read the contents of the envelope. First, regarding the employment terms. It seemed I would be hired as a part-time school counselor. Well, I was originally planning to get a part-time job anyway. This is fine. Next were the prohibitions and precautions. These were pretty much the same as any other workplace. It was mostly just a reminder of common sense rules for working, like not disclosing the content of student consultations. And then, a week later, I began the second chapter of my life as a school counselor. After receiving an orientation of the school and training on my duties, my work officially began. Or so I thought, but the reality was different from what I had imagined. The thing is, nobody came. Even if no one came for counseling, there was still work to do, but it felt somewhat empty. Well, I guess that makes sense. High school students are in the prime of their youth, hanging out with friends, immersing themselves in hobbies. Everyone must be busy. But after about a month on the job, students gradually started coming for counseling. The nature of their consultations varied, but one thing all the students who came here had in common was a strong feeling about their own worries and problems. Honestly, if you were to ask me if I was providing the perfect response to every child who came to me, I wouldn't know. Was that the right answer at that time? Was my tone and way of speaking easy for the student to understand? I spent every day thinking about such things. Despite that pressure, when I heard words like, "I'm glad I talked to you," or "Can I come again?" I couldn't help but feel happy, despite my age. Olivia also seemed to be looking out for me as I started my work as a school counselor, and we started talking more often than before. Each time, she'd tell me in detail about school events and such, saying, "It doesn't hurt to know, right?" There were times when conversations sparked thanks to what Olivia had told me, from finding me a new job to following up afterward. I truly owe Olivia a great deal. Even though I became a school counselor, in reality, I was the one being helped by the students who came for counseling and by Olivia. I think it's a pathetic story, but while living those days, my once sunken mental state gradually recovered. Then, one day, "Your granddaughter?" "Yes, she's going to be transferring to our school soon." "That's quite sudden." "Well, it seems there have been some complications. And on that note, there's something I'd like to ask of you." "Something you'd like to ask?" "Yes, you see, she's been frail since she was little. She hasn't had many opportunities to go to school. In fact, she's probably spent more time in the hospital." "I see. So, the favor you're asking is—" "Oh, you catch on quick." "That's right. I'm thinking of having her come to the counseling room for a while, right after she transfers. So could I ask you to take care of her?" "Yes, of course. That is my job, after all." And so, I found myself in charge of Olivia's granddaughter's mental and physical care. And 2 weeks later, just as planned, Olivia brought her granddaughter to the counseling room. "Excuse me," she murmured as she timidly stepped into the counseling room. Just as Olivia had said, she was frail, with a slender build. On top of that, she had translucent white skin and graceful movements. It might not be the right thought to have about someone over 15 years younger than me, but she was like a princess straight out of a fairy tale. "You're Chloe, right? It's nice to meet you. I'm Jacob, the school counselor." "Oh, nice to meet you." "Well, it's a grand title, but really, I mostly just chat with students, so you don't need to be so nervous." "Oh, I see. Right. It's probably hard to just start talking out of the blue, so today, how about I let you get to know me? If you have any questions, feel free to ask anything." "Thank you." So that day, we spent the time with brief introductions and casual conversation, focusing on my personal life to make her feel as comfortable as possible. That said, even if it was to help her feel at ease, I still felt a little hesitant to sell out my private life. Still, by the end of our meeting, Chloe had started asking me a few questions, so I'd say it all worked out. And so, our first session ended with what I felt was a pretty good response. A few days later, as I was waiting in the counseling room as usual, Chloe came to see me again. "Hi, Chloe, come in." "Excuse me." This time, she wasn't accompanied by Olivia. She came of her own accord. It seemed my plan to get her to warm up to me had been a success. From then on, Chloe would almost always come to the counseling room whenever I was at work. However, while our conversations became more lively, the listless air she'd had since our first meeting showed no signs of changing. Thinking it would be unwise to press the issue, I decided not to bring it up until Chloe was ready to talk about it herself. But just ignoring it wasn't good either. If you start feeling overwhelmed lately, just let me know anytime. Early morning, during class, after school, you're welcome anytime. With words like these, I gently guided Chloe so she wouldn't keep everything to herself. And as I increased the number of sessions with Chloe, she gradually began to open up about herself. Mr. Carter, did my grandmother tell you that I'm frail? Yes, I heard something along those lines. In reality, because of my body, I could hardly go to school. It's been a constant cycle of being hospitalized and discharged. I see, so that's how it was. I realized it soon after starting kindergarten, that I was different from others in a bad way. No, that's not. It is true. Because of my weak body, I caused trouble for everyone around me. Even the friends who were kind enough to befriend me couldn't play properly because I'd suddenly get sick. I caused extra trouble for the teachers, too, and my parents. What? And then, Chloe began to talk about her parents. Before her frailty became apparent, her parents had a good relationship with no particular conflicts. However, after her weakness became more pronounced, they started arguing at home more often. The topic of their arguments was always about Chloe's physical condition. At first, they discussed how to make her better, but seeing no improvement, they gradually began to blame each other. Living like that, it was as clear as day that their marriage would sour. Finally, the two divorced, and her mother returned to her parents' home with Chloe. I see, so that was the reason for the sudden school transfer. That's why my being here is a bother to everyone. Even now, I'm causing trouble by suddenly living at my grandmother's house. I see. So it's painful for you to think you're causing trouble for those around you because of yourself. Yes, that's right. But I think I understand how you feel a little, Chloe. You do? And so, I decided to tell her about my own past. It was about a year ago when my mental health had hit rock bottom. At the time, I was a workaholic who put my job above everything else. It wasn't a metaphor. I thought about work from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep. My work was going surprisingly well back then, which I think contributed to an obsessive thought that, if I let up now, I'll lose everything. But living such a self-centered life inevitably comes with a price. For me, that price came in the worst possible way. It was my mother's death. Prioritizing my work above all else, I never took the time to consider my family. There's the fact that my mother respected my decisions, but more than anything, I took her for granted. And this was the result. As a result of living a self-centered life, I lost someone precious in a place I couldn't reach. It's not even a funny story. After that, I fell into a pattern of self-blame. It's my fault. It's my fault. I berated myself every day. That I'd caused trouble for everyone around me because of my actions. Is that so? It's embarrassing to talk about. But well, I couldn't continue working with that mentality, so I quit my job at the time. And that brings us to today. But you seem pretty cheerful now. It's a little surprising hearing that story. Ah, you're right. Well, there was a catalyst for that. There was a catalyst? Yes, but that catalyst was your grandmother, Chloe. My grandmother? Then I told Chloe how I came to get this job. She pushed it on me with such incredible passion. I was a little surprised at first, but in a way, it made me happy. What do you mean by that? Well, how do I put it? When you're in a self-punishing state, you're blaming yourself. It's hard to find a way to resolve that on your own. That's true. But because your grandmother got involved with me, even if it was a bit forceful, I think that's why I'm here now. Sorry for the long story. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that when you're stuck on your own, it's not a bad idea to rely on others. Though, I suppose you're already doing that by coming here. Mr. Carter, I can understand and agree with what you're saying. But still, the thought of causing trouble for my friends because of me, it's scary. Her body was trembling slightly. She probably didn't develop this way of thinking without reason. The cause was, in all likelihood, her parents' divorce. However, it's not like she intentionally caused that situation. So, objectively, she doesn't need to worry so much. But for her, being the spark that started it all is undoubtedly a source of great anguish. So that means you're no exception, Chloe. You're right. I know that feeling all too well. Yes, I suppose so. Well, this is just my speculation from here on out, but you think your friends and teachers really thought you were a nuisance? What? I think it's a good thing that you're aware you might be causing trouble for people. It's proof that you can reflect on yourself. But have those people around you ever once said it was your fault? Well, sometimes when we think we're being a bother, the other person doesn't think so at all. Chloe didn't say anything. That said, I'm not saying you should suddenly try to change. And this is just one example of how things can be. If you think it seems a little difficult, let's think of some other strategies together. She remained silent, but she must have come to the counseling room so many times because she herself thought things couldn't go on like this. I want to change, for goodness' sake. Even if she didn't say it directly, I could somehow sense that feeling from her. Really? Come, do you really think I'm not a bother? Yes, at least I think so. I enjoy talking with you, Chloe. It might be difficult to do it all at once. I'm still scared. I see. That makes sense. But I understand what you're saying, Mr. Carter, so maybe little by little. Then let's think of some concrete things we can do together within a range that won't overwhelm you. Yes, please. From then on my work days, we always thought about concrete coping strategies together. Since relying on people right away was a bit much, we decided to start with building those relationships. However, she said starting a conversation from scratch was a high hurdle, so we began with pair work and group work in class. In class, the topics and subjects are already decided, so I think it'll be relatively easy to talk. I see. We came up with various strategies like this, but in the end, it was up to her. No matter how much support she got from those around her, when things don't change, they just don't change. I'm not saying it's bad not to change, just that there are cases like that. Whether she would change or not, I honestly thought it was 50-50. However, she gradually changed in a way that pleasantly subverted my expectations. At first, she would talk about her struggles with not being able to make conversation, but as the days went by, she started giving me more positive reports. I think I was able to talk more than usual today. It turned out we had the same way home, so I made a friend to walk with. Now, about 3 months after she first came to me, she even comes to the counseling room with a classmate she's become friends with. She's also overcoming her past trauma, and her health has been good lately. The number of times she comes to see me has gradually decreased, and now a monthly session has become the default. It's a happy occasion, but well, there's also a part of me that feels a little lonely. Furthermore, she's not only brightened up at school, but at home as well, and Olivia thanked me again, saying she's become a child who laughs a lot. However, all I did was provide mental support. Her frail constitution itself hasn't improved one bit. And unfortunately, I was about to experience that firsthand. One day, as winter was approaching and the air grew chilly. Today was Chloe's monthly counseling day, so I was waiting in the counseling room as usual. Then, I heard a knock on the counseling room door, right on schedule. She's so conscientious even after coming here for so long. Come in. As I said that, she appeared from behind the door. It was the same sight as always. But I instantly noticed something was wrong with her. Chloe, what's wrong? You look really pale. What? Oh, no. Let's have a seat for now. I guided her to the sofa. I tried making some small talk, but her demeanor was still strange. Her responses were vague, and she wasn't focused on the conversation at all. What's more, as time passed, her face grew paler and paler. She said she was frail. Is this it? And Chloe's symptoms. A bad feeling crept over me. I contacted her homeroom teacher to inform Chairperson Davis and immediately took her to the hospital. I'm going to go register you. It must be tough, but just hang in there for a bit. With her suffering behind me, I rushed to complete the registration. It was at that moment. Hey, Jacob. Liam. There stood a tall man, probably around 6'1". The man's name was Liam. He was a high school classmate of mine, and now works as a doctor at this hospital. What's up here in the middle of the day? Feeling sick? You look fine though. It's not me. It's her, I said, glancing over at her and explaining her current symptoms. I see. It's clearly not normal. Please find a way to see her as soon as possible. That was the moment. She must have finally reached her limit after enduring it for so long. She collapsed in her chair, clutching her head. Chloe? Are you okay? I called out to her repeatedly, but there was no response. She was completely unconscious. Liam, get a stretcher. We'll run a full examination. Just what you'd expect from a practicing doctor. Before I could even call out, Liam was already giving instructions to the nurses around him. After that, she was taken to the examination room. Jacob, you come too. Is that okay? I'm an outsider. I'll explain the situation later. Just come. Without a moment to argue, Liam and I also headed to the examination room. After being examined by several doctors, the diagnosis was a cerebral hemorrhage. My vision blurred for a moment. This was the same illness that took my mother's life. A cerebral hemorrhage? Then we need to operate immediately. While I was panicking, the doctor's expressions grew darker. Actually, our specialist is currently in surgery and unavailable. We can't handle it at this hospital, so we'll have to transfer her to another one. No, then, of all the times. Furthermore, her symptoms have progressed quite a bit. If we do nothing, in 20, no, 15 minutes. No way. The air grew heavy. Just as most of us, including me, began to imagine the worst-case scenario, it happened. Here! Suddenly, Liam tossed a set of scrubs at me. What's this? We don't have time to hesitate. I didn't expect such an urgent situation, but I'm glad I brought you along just in case. But I already quit. I told you I'd explain later. Are you in or out? All right, I'll do it. Can you handle it? Who do you think you're talking to? 10 minutes is more than enough. And so, I changed into the scrubs and headed towards the operating room. Liam, are you sure it's okay to do something so unauthorized? He's a neurosurgeon on staff here. I'll explain the circumstances later, so for now, I need everyone's cooperation. Liam managed to calm the chaotic scene with the bare minimum of information. Although it was an impromptu and completely irregular situation, the surgery was a success. That was the most stressful surgery of my life. Good work. Sorry, when I considered the worst-case scenario, that was the only thing I could do. I wish you would have at least given me a heads up. My apologies for that. So, now that things have settled down, I'll ask again. What do you mean by on staff? Excuse me, someone who says they're the girl's guardian is here. Ah, yes, I'll be right there. I'm going to grill you later. And so I hurried to Chloe's room. There, I found Olivia watching over Chloe with teary eyes. Jacob, those clothes. You saved her, didn't you? I thought you quit being a doctor here for a reason? Well, let's set that aside for now. The surgery was a success. She should wake up once the anesthesia wears off. Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know what to say. Olivia cried as she thanked me over and over again. Soon after, Chloe's mother also arrived at the hospital. Like Olivia, upon hearing the news that the surgery was successful, she seemed to collapse on the spot out of relief. After that chaotic afternoon passed, the moon began to show its face. Where am I? Oh, you're awake. Mr. Carter? Wait, I think I went to see Mr. Carter and then. It's no wonder you don't remember. It's okay, I'll explain everything. And so, I explained the events that had transpired. I was hesitant to tell her I was the one who operated, but I figured it would get out anyway, so I decided not to lie. I didn't want to say it, because it sounds like I'm laying it on thick. So, you're the one who saved me, Mr. Carter? Well, it's true I performed the surgery. It was a real emergency. So, you weren't a counselor, Mr. Carter. You were a doctor? That's right. Well, since we're here, why don't I start from the beginning? And so, I began to talk about my past. I had already told her the gist of it before, that I had lost my mother as a result of being too absorbed in my work. But I hadn't told her the specifics, like what kind of work I did. My previous profession, as you might have guessed, was a doctor. My motivation for becoming a doctor was quite common. My mother had been in poor health since I was a child, so I wanted to become a doctor to help her, even a little. I progressed smoothly through medical school and residency, steadily building my career as a neurosurgeon to treat my mother's congenital brain disease. Furthermore, I was lucky enough to get a position at the very hospital my mother was a patient at, which sent my motivation through the roof. I worked even harder, obtained a specialist certification in psychiatry for patient post-operative care, and before I knew it, I was being called a genius neurosurgeon. You were such an amazing doctor. Well, I was blessed with good people around me. It was thanks to getting my psychiatry specialist certification at that time that I was able to get a job as a school counselor. Then, one day, my mother was brought to the hospital where I worked as an emergency patient. Hearing the news, I rushed to the operating room. I will save her, no matter what, I thought as I headed to the operating room, but my mother had collapsed in the bathtub at home from a cerebral hemorrhage, and the delay in discovering her meant it was too late for anyone to do anything. As a result, by the time I arrived in the operating room, my mother was already gone. I have no other memories of that day. But I knew about my mother's chronic illness and that the risk of things like a cerebral hemorrhage was high. The fact that my mother died as a result of me prioritizing my own convenience still weighs heavily on my heart, and the feelings of overwhelming guilt and self-loathing are still deeply etched in my chest. I had originally aspired to be a doctor to help my mother, but what I was doing was the exact opposite. I was caught up in a reputation I didn't even know the origin of, living a self-centered life. Work first. Under that convenient excuse, the number of days I didn't go home increased. If you hadn't lost sight of your origins, your mother could have been saved. Those words echoed in my head. And then something happened that kicked me while I was already down. It was the spread of malicious rumors within the hospital. I don't know who started it, but rumors began to spread that I was a quack because I couldn't save my own mother. It was the final blow to my already crumbling mental state. No longer seeing any reason to continue working at that hospital, I submitted my resignation that day and left the workplace. Or so I thought. What? I'll let the person who knows the details explain this part. After getting Chloe's permission, I pulled over Liam, who was wandering around nearby. What's up? What's going on? A continuation of our conversation from this afternoon. I figured you'd know what was going on. Oh, the part about you still being on staff? Yeah, I definitely submitted my resignation, but it's a simple story, really. The director, Mr. Anderson, said he couldn't accept it when your judgment was clearly impaired. By Mr. Anderson's decision, you were put on leave. I see. So that's what. Does that clear things up? Well, I still have things to do, so I'm gonna head out. Yeah, thanks. So, that's what apparently happened. You didn't know either, Jacob? Nope, not until this very moment. After that, I ran into Olivia when I was mentally unwell. That's when I got the offer to be a school counselor, which brings us to the present. But no matter how it happened, it doesn't change the fact that you saved me, Jacob. It's not just today's surgery. Thanks to your counseling, my life has become more enjoyable. You've truly helped me, both mentally and physically, she said, showing me a radiant smile. In that moment, a conversation with my mother flooded my mind. I can't believe you actually got into medical school. That's amazing, really. Thanks, Mom, but this is just the beginning. I can finally be of help to you. Hey, Jacob. What is it? I'm so happy that you're thinking of doing this for me. I really am, thank you. Huh? Well, what's this all of a sudden? But you don't have to think only about that. A doctor isn't there for just one person. They're there for all the patients who come to them, right? Well, that's true. But, of course I'm happy, but I think it would be a waste to crush your potential, Jacob, by fixating on just me. I'm sure you have the power to help many more people, Jacob. You think so? I'm your mother, of course I know that much. Her radiant smile as she said that came to my mind. I see, Mom, all this time you were. Jacob. Thank you, Chloe. Thanks to you, I was saved too. What? You must be tired after everything that happened today. You have more tests tomorrow, so get some rest tonight. Oh yes. Good night. Good night. Helping many people, huh? Why did I forget that until now? After leaving Chloe's room, I headed straight for the director's office. Excuse me, Jacob, I've heard all about what happened today. I'm very sorry about that. I know I acted without authorization. Well, we'll talk about that later. More importantly, you came here because you have something to say, didn't you? Yes. I know I'm being selfish, but I would like to ask if you would let me work at this hospital again. And your reason is? The girl I operated on today made me realize something. My origins, and the promise I made to my mother. I want to save as many people as I can, to the best of my ability. Seeing her smile made me feel that way. You're all right now then? Yes, I won't run away this time. And so, I started working as a doctor again. That said, it wasn't as if I could start tomorrow. The earliest I could fully return to being a doctor was in a month. In the meantime, I continued my work as a school counselor and visited Chloe from time to time. She was no longer the girl I had first met. When I visited her yesterday, she even told me, I want to become a school counselor who can be there for each and every student, just like you, Mr. Carter. It was the greatest reward a school counselor could ask for. Even though I started this job by just going with the flow, it's become a job I'm quite fond of. And then, a few years later, having successfully returned to being a doctor, I now work as a neurosurgeon and also assist Director Anderson in managing the hospital. Using my experience as a school counselor, I propose management policies that are considerate of the feelings of nurses and doctors. We've received more feedback from within the hospital that it's become a better place to work. We're no longer short-staffed. And we have a reputation among patients for providing thorough medical care. And there was another instance where my experience as a school counselor came in handy. One day, after returning to my duties as a doctor and leading a busy but fulfilling life, I was suddenly called over by Liam. There's something I absolutely have to tell you. Liam, I'm sorry. I appreciate the sentiment, but I'm not. That's not it at all. Oh, really? Do you remember those strange rumors that were going around before you left the hospital? Hmm? Oh yeah, I remember that. The one who started them was me. Liam bowed his head to me, his voice trembling as he apologized. Apparently, out of jealousy from constantly being compared as peers, he had done it on a whim. It's fine. It's all in the past. I wasn't that bothered by it anyway. But, besides, if it weren't for you, there's a good chance I wouldn't have been able to save Chloe. The good outweighs the bad. Working as a school counselor deepens one's understanding of emotions like jealousy. Now, I can understand Liam's feelings not just with words, but with my heart. I've grown psychologically without even realizing it. And now, we're on better terms than ever, able to talk about anything. As for Chloe, after graduating from medical school, she started working as a resident at our hospital. Apparently, after gaining experience as a psychiatrist here, she plans to start her career as a school counselor. Furthermore, Olivia and I have had many discussions about the importance of counseling, and we're planning to dispatch counselors from our hospital soon. Olivia, who still brings me leftovers when she cooks too much, will soon be my grandmother-in-law. I lost someone precious, lost myself, and once hit rock bottom in life. What am I even living for? I spent every day thinking such things, even though there was no answer. But even for someone like me, there were people who reached out a hand. Olivia, Chloe, and the students who came for counseling. The list is endless. They may not be aware of it themselves, but without realizing it, we can be a crucial support for someone. Our casual words and actions can become a great source of strength for others. Through my interactions with such people, I was gradually saved, and I came to be able to accept myself, to believe that it was okay for me to be alive. I, who had only ever been helped by others, came to be thanked by others. And now, before me are many friends, and next to me is the woman I love. Come on, let's go. Saying that, Chloe holds out her hand. I take her hand, take a deep breath, and take a step forward. Remembering how much I struggled, hesitated, and suffered in the past, yet grateful for everyone's support that brought me here. I resolved to walk step by step into the new future that lies before me. Now, our wedding is about to begin.